Another season of IPL is on us. It's not just the IPL. The first edition of the Women's Premier League or the WPL will also be held this year. As the sports grows, one of the biggest worries of the fans is the corruption associated with the game. To talk about what threatens cricket more right now, more than ever, I am joined by former head of Anti-Corruption Unit of BCCI, Neeraj Kumar, also the retired Delhi Police Commissioner, who has had a peek behind BCCI's Iron Curtain. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us on the broadcast. Now, you are a part of the most opaque system that runs the biggest game in the country. What is the biggest revelation you can make?
The biggest revelation was that I was deeply shocked to see that I had been brought there in the wake of the 2013 spot fixing case and all that had happened after that busting of that scam in terms of the Mudgal committee and the Lodha committee and the intervention of the Supreme Court and all cricket administrators removed en masse. And despite all that, I found that nobody was interested in the subject of corruption in cricket. Nobody ever asked me that what was the overall corruption seen in the country in cricket and what could be done to correct the things. So that I found very shocking, and I could never understand that why was there so much of indifference to the subject of corruption in cricket.
Now, the Supreme Court appointed COA and the CEO, what I understand, were in charge of running cricket as well as cleaning up the system. But your book seems to suggest that they were the biggest hindrance to the cleanup job. And that itself is a big allegation.
They never ever asked me what was the overall scene of corruption in cricket. They never reacted to so many disruptions and so many scams that we busted. For instance, we disrupted the Rajputana Premier League in 2017. It made no impression on them. We busted the pitch doctoring scam in Kanpur during the IPL. It made no impression on them. They would never want to know the details. They would never want to know what are the lessons to be learned, what should be done going forward, and so on and so forth. So, as far as I know, they were interested in every other thing but fighting corruption in cricket.
I have read your book, Neeraj, sir, A Cop in Cricket. It's a very interesting insight into how the world of cricket is run and the kind of corrupt practices you talk about in the book. You also talk about corrupt officials, even the ones put into BCCI by the Supreme Court, and you've called them out for several things. Your book seemed to suggest that the conscience keepers were chasing power, money and glamour. Is that so?
I should think so, because I feel the power and more importantly the pelf has gone to their heads, and they are not interested in the nitty-gritties of the game. Their main focus is on the conduct of the IPL and all the revenues that it generates.
Neeraj, you have opened a Pandoras box. Some of the stuff could be defamatory. Things you've written about Rahul Johri and Vinod Rai are problematic, very, very critical. Are you prepared for the consequences?
See, I have taken on so many people in my life, and I have always been aware of the consequences. Here again, if they have to file defamation suits against me, so be it.
You've done a deep dive into spot fixing. How much of these dark deeds and corruption are encouraged by people who run the game even today?
The point is, Rika, that what we come to know is only when things get disclosed or revealed or people get caught. But as long as people don't get caught, we don't know what is happening in the arena of cricket. So we can never be too sure whether spot fixing continues or not continue, or whether new forms of corruption have crept in. We would never know unless there is some revelation or some big scam that gets busted. But the message in my book is that we should not only confine ourselves to the phenomena of match fixing or spot fixing at the top level. We should be concerned about the entire ecosystem of cricket. What is the ecosystem of cricket in the country? Right from the time a budding cricketer comes up to a level of reckoning, he begins to face corruption. I have given the example of our former captain, Mr. Virat Kohli. His father, imagine a person as talented as Virat Kohli's father, was asked to pay a bribe of 20 lakhs of rupees for selection to the district team. If it can happen to him, you can imagine what all happens to the other cricketers.
Absolutely. It's shocking what happens in this cricket universe. But tell me, is it possible to weed corruption out of cricket?
No, I have always said that let us not weed out corruption completely, because just like you cannot weed out crime completely from society, you cannot weed out corruption from sport in general. Why only cricket? There is corruption in possibly every sport, including, football, golf, tennis, you name a game, kabaddi, now that's happening in our country. There is corruption. But what we have to attempt at is to reduce the corruption, not to an acceptable level, but I would say to a manageable level, right, where it doesn't affect the proceedings of the game, or doesn't affect the spirit of the game, so to say. And it can be managed by our anti-corruption officers. One stray incident or stray here or there can be checked.
But in your understanding, are the top level matches and the leagues that are run today across the globe corruption free?
Most certainly. As far as the conduct of the top level matches are concerned, I'm referring to the test matches, to the one-day internationals, to T20, they are within manageable levels.
What about corruption in age group cricket, junior cricket and the private leagues?
Oh, you name it and it's there. People are approached for, first of all, matches are, which I have written about in the book, that matches are held purely for the purpose of betting and for corrupt practices. These are the private leagues that take place in the country, And every now and then you will hear of private leagues. We busted one such league, and more than a dozen leagues planned after that match were abandoned, or they were shifted abroad. We pursued them even abroad. We told the concerned cricket boards of those countries that these leagues have been shifted to your country. Please do not allow them to proceed. So, private leagues are bad news. So are so many first-class cricket games. So, my point is, and my thesis is that if we do not curb corruption at the lower levels, to keep the higher levels free of corruption is that much more difficult.
It's very interesting what you say. So basically the onus is on the respective boards to be vigilant about these private leagues. But has the menace reduced now? Is BCCI in India making effort to disrupt these leagues?
No, private leagues are going on even now, and they are going on very frequently. And I don't think the BCCI is conscious enough of these leagues. It does not make any effort to disrupt them, and therefore the corrupt practices continue.
Let me ask you one final question. We are on the cusp of WPL, the first women's league in India. What would be your warning signs to the BCCI?
I would say that please do not take those matches and those tournaments lightly. Take them as seriously as you take men's matches. Because if there is any laxity in the coverage, whether it is security coverage or the anti-corruption coverage, the corruptors will move in immediately. And mind you, it is not as if they have not tried to compromise women players. We are aware of several instances where they have, and those things were in our notice. We are also aware, we could prove those instances that some players did succumb to those, offers and so on. So, just like you keep a very sharp eye on men's matches, so should you keep a very sharp eye on the women's matches also.
Thank you very much, Neeraj Kumar, for joining us on the broadcast. The insights that you have put together in that book from your learnings in cricket are truly invaluable. Thanks very much.